Good evening, Britannia, and hello to the rest of the world. Welcome to 2CTV. The latest update on the situation in the continent of Europe. Things are not going too well with the infiltration of Islamists, of course, with the help of funding, financial backing coming from the Islamic Republic of Iran, as well as the state of Qatar. They have managed to create bases across our countries, and in this video, we're going to give you the update and some good news. Let's go on with the show. Alright, you beautiful freedom fighters from all around the world. We're going to get your reaction live during the show as usual. But let's talk about what's been going on over the last few years, and especially obviously over the last few months. We've been seeing a massive increase in activities when it comes to Islamists and those who want to bring down the Western civilization and our order. Obviously, as we have already said previously, there have been exposés about Islamist money, Qatari money across our university campuses, our charities, so-called humanitarian groups, and all these organizations have been linked to blood Arab money. But this is actually about directly speaking about Hezbollah, that are the puppets of the Iranian regime in Tehran. These guys have been obviously had bases around all our countries, from Spain to Germany. And this update is actually about the US authorities working with the German authorities to discover what's going on in Europe, in many countries. But this was actually after what they discovered what was happening in Spain. So let's give you the actual details. So these videos that we can see, this is the actual what we received. The US and German authorities have disrupted a Hezbollah drone logistics network operating in Europe. The operation began in Spain after the Spanish Civil Guard discovered large purchases of materials suitable for like kamikaze drones. The authorities successfully intercepted the shipment of essential components, preventing the production of UAVs, drones, and everything else intended for Islamist attacks. Of course, as we know, Europe has a massive crisis on its hand, and somebody needs to sort this out. Considering that the discovery started in Spain, and considering the Spanish government's public position on the conflict between Israel and Gaza, we already know that the Spanish left-wing politicians have been attacking the Jewish nation, and they've been trying to push The Hague and of course the International Criminal Court to issue an arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu and the rest of his cabinet. We know where the left-wing establishment in Spain stand in this thing, and I'm not really accusing them directly of having knowledge of what was going on in their country with Hezbollah forces. And of course Hezbollah, with the help of Iran, have been obviously doing the financial transactions in Europe, in Spain and some other places, to be able to buy all the materials that they need separately in order to build all these drones in Europe. Now, we don't know if these equipment and weapons were going to be used against the people of Europe, or whether they were building them here to then send them to the Middle East. Again, there are so many theories about that, perhaps both at the same time. But there are a lot of questions to be asked, and it's interesting that after we received this report and some other new media outlets, I know it's still early days, but there haven't been any coverage by the mainstream media. Now, coverage is one thing. This sort of thing, considering a lot of people have been talking about this as a theory or with finding semi-evidence over the last few years, it's not really a surprise, right? It's shocking, but it's not a surprise. Do you remember decades ago, the early days of modern journalism? We used to have even mainstream media journalists doing investigations. So technically, I'm not really concerned about the fact that they're not covering this right now. I'm mostly concerned about the fact that nobody in the world of mainstream journalism were doing any sort of research, any sort of investigative work, which they used to do back in the day. That's why when you have someone, again, whether you like him or not politically, when you have someone like Julian Assange creating a website so that whistleblowers could basically give them stories so they could publish as journalists, the rest of the mainstream journalists go crazy. So the reason people had a problem with WikiLeaks, the establishment, wasn't just the political establishment. It wasn't just the government. The media helped these governments to bring down WikiLeaks, try to bring down WikiLeaks and Julian Assange. Again, it doesn't really matter if you agree or disagree with Assange's politics. But the media were very happy to help all these political establishments to bring down WikiLeaks. Instead of asking, well, you're shooting the messenger. Let's talk about the stories that have been published by WikiLeaks. I know a lot of people would then get into the conversation, wow, sometimes they broke the rules, their own rules, and they published names, blah, blah, blah. But there were so many stories that were published by WikiLeaks. These are stories that should have been done by the other mainstream journalists, and they would have done it back in the day, decades ago. It was their job. But they didn't do it. And because of envy, they became the arms of governments, the media. The same thing happened during the lockdown with the China virus. When the media, instead of asking questions from world leaders, prime ministers and presidents when they were announcing lockdown policies, instead of asking them, are you sure this is a good idea? The media decided to become the propaganda machine for these governments. Instead of asking questions, they promoted it. So I'm not surprised that none of the mainstream journalists have been doing their homework about this story, about the report that now exposes the Hezbollah bases in Spain, in Germany, and elsewhere. And now we have to deal with the consequences. Obviously, they've made the arrests. We know. Obviously, the operation started in Spain. If you join us late, there's just a quick update. The operation started in Spain when they discovered financial transactions happening in the country linked to Hezbollah. And they went to the buildings, they found all the equipment and everything else, and now they realize there are links to other countries as well. And the people who did this, obviously the Spanish managed to start it, the Spanish Civil Guard. No thanks to the left-wing politicians in the government, by the way. It was just a national security concern. They started it in Spain, but the US and German authorities, when they found out what happened in Spain, then they did their own research finally and started to bring down Hezbollah bases in other places as well. And this is just the beginning. And the reason I see European countries finally going after an organization like Hezbollah, it's not because they are waking up to the threat. It's not because finally they realize there's a problem with Islamism. They pick their battles. It's the same argument, the same debate when it came to which countries are going to be designating the Islamic Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist organization. Canada finally managed to do it a couple of months ago. The UK still haven't done it. They pick their battles. Hezbollah are now losers. You can throw them under the bus. So we have Western globalist governments finally saying, you know what, we can go after Hezbollah. It's the same thing when everything was done in terms of the relationship with Al-Qaeda. They said, yeah, let's just bring down Al-Qaeda now. We don't need them anymore. Or even the early days of Taliban. Even though, of course, the early days relationship was they used to be called Mujahideen in Afghanistan, and the Western globalists helped them, and they used their help to fight against the Soviet. But when it was no longer needed, they said, oh, these are the bad guys, we're going to bring them down. But they're not saying it about the godfather of Hezbollah, the Iranian regime. They are the main bad guys. But this is just proxy after proxy after proxy. All the battles you are seeing is based on proxy battles. And I know the paranoia that a lot of people have, those who are statists, pro-state, pro-establishment. They say, well, of course we have to do proxies, because otherwise it will be chaos. Otherwise, if you go directly attack Iran, even in self-defense, then it's just going to escalate things. They said the exact same thing to Israel. A few months ago, when Iran, for the first time, directly attacked Israel, the Israelis said, well, self-defense, we're going to have to go destroy Iran. It was the Americans who said, no, calm down, because we're going to get into trouble if you do it. And I'm not advocating for conflict. I'm simply saying that the game has changed. But only one side has changed the game. It's the Western side has changed the game because of the American empire. The Eastern side continue to test the waters, continue to test our patience. They literally try everything to see how much they can get away with, The Chinese Communist Party have their spies and agents. They have their secret, they had at least, I'm sure they still have it, secret police stations across our major cities, London, New York, and elsewhere, Toronto. They continue to test our patience. And it seems like for us, ordinary plebs, it seems like, well, the establishment are not doing anything about it. But I really want to give them the benefit of the doubt that they know what they're doing. I really want to. I'm not talking about the actual politicians with political agendas. Those who are simply doing national security, those who really believe in national security, I really want to give them the benefit of the doubt that the reason things are not going too well is because they are being prevented by some other people. You know, all these other weirdos, the US Democrats, for example, and their ideology. But we are where we are at this point. Gary says, the mainstream media is corrupt and inept. The mainstream media only want you to know what they want you to know. This is why people like Tusi are crucial for getting all the real news, good or bad. Thank you, Gary, for the support and understanding of what's going on. Blue Sapphire says Biden literally ruined all of America's influence the moment Trump got out of office. S started going wrong. This is the whole issue. So until now, the status quo in America since basically 1940s has been, because the British Empire voluntarily devolving, because it didn't really fall, it wasn't like Rome, the British Empire devolving into the Commonwealth, they realized publicly, in terms of PR, they can't be the face of the world police. So we made America the new world police, and America was never supposed to be the world police. They were created as a isolationist libertarian nation. It was supposed to be just leave us alone, we're going to get rich, we are somewhere else. But when they became the world police, facing incompetence, absolute incompetence, because they don't know what they're doing, they're still children as a country. The British Empire, whether you like it or not, whether you agree or disagree with the decisions made by the British Empire throughout the years, they were competent. They knew exactly what they were doing. Having said that, the other problem we had was it's a psychology of the American establishment for decades, when they were going around trying to do interventions and continue to fail from Vietnam to Afghanistan. The idea was the only way we can actually have an influence is if we are the top dogs, the alpha dogs, the world police. When Trump came and he announced that he's an anti-war president, everybody kicked off in the CIA, FBI, everywhere. Because they said, well, what about our influence around the world? Because you have two options. You could either do soft power or hard power. Soft power is technically what Britain is doing now, since the British Empire. Now, behind the scenes, that's different. Hard power has been what America has been doing as the world police. Trump was not soft power or hard power, but he also wasn't an isolationist. He wasn't anti-war to be an isolationist. He was the most pragmatic, and I'm saying objectively, pragmatic when it came to foreign policy. That's what you didn't know. You couldn't tell where you stand with Trump. Whether you were, who was the prime minister here? Theresa May, for example, or Boris Johnson, ally. Whether you were Putin or President Xi or Ayatollah Khamenei, none of them knew where they stood with Trump, because they thought any moment, he says he's anti-war, but CNN says he's crazy. They didn't know if he's going to press the red button or if he's just going to withdraw from Afghanistan. Nobody could tell. And he was pragmatic in the sense that he was saying, I'm against conflict, but he went and bombed Syria for like 10 minutes to send a message. It was simply to show the strength of America. And the moment he did that, the ISIS side got wiped out and Assad started to behave again. Same thing with North Korea, saying, I'm ready to destroy North Korea. You know, obviously he was bluffing. Well, we think it was bluffing. That's the whole point, even we can't tell. That's how he did the influence. America had more influence under Trump for 4 years without being the top dog hard power and without just doing the alternative, which is soft power. So this should be a lesson to all those in the British establishment and the American establishment, the liberal globalists, to realize it's not black and white. It's not between hard and soft. There's a Trump approach. Mike says, Maya, who is the character in the bust on your desk? That is my good friend and my housemate, William Gladstone. My favorite prime minister, of course, was a classical liberal, part of the old Liberal Party, when the liberals were basically right wing, when they used to be sound, when they used to believe in individual liberties, small government, but at the same time, nationalism and patriotism. And Gladstone, of course, was a good man. And at the time, it was the Tories who were protectionist and completely out of touch with society, when you had Benjamin Disraeli increasing the size of government like an idiot, and then somehow he became the symbol of good governance. Everybody's obsessed with Benjamin Disraeli. Oh, he's such a good man, isn't he? Of course, those who increase the size of governments, they become more well known because they say, I did this, that's my legacy. I did this, that's my legacy. But those who did small government, good things happened, but they didn't take credit because they didn't do intervention. So no one gives any credit to William Gladstone, who also was one of the vocal voices against, of course, slavery in the slave trade. But apparently, right-wingers are the bad guys. Bill Bailey says, America has no idea what's happening. A total news lockdown in the UK and Europe. News assisted by YouTube. There is an issue. It's quite interesting. The American media are fascinating because on the one hand, more is covered in America compared to, for example, if you're just in the UK, if you just watch BBC News and Sky News. But there's a thing about the American, because the American news makers, the news creators they know their audience, and they keep the American public completely ignorant. They keep them ill-informed. So, but now over the last few years, we've had the rise of new media in America. So more, especially young people, are actually becoming more aware of what's happening around the world. In America, the Americans always used to get insulted, saying, they're idiots, they don't know anything, they don't even know where Germany is or France is. But the younger generation who are becoming more informed, of course not every single person, but those who are becoming more politically aware because of the rise of new media. Kingdom of Heaven says, so you are multitasking and reading the chat. Nice haircut, Maya. Thank you. I can multitask sometimes. AOC Man UK says, whenever I hear Gladstone, I think of the character, Sid James' character, Gladstone Small from Carry On Again, Doctor. I actually haven't seen it. Timothy says, it has just been announced that the left idiots in the US Democrats have accepted that Joe Biden is totally unfit for office. So yeah, over the last few hours, we've been getting more updates from the US Democrats, left, right, and center. They're coming out to say, to send letters to Team Biden, telling him it's time for you to just resign and just basically give up and withdraw. And I thought, but I'm still going with the narrative in my head, instinct, that by Monday he's gone. By Monday, Biden's going to go. And then an hour ago, Team Biden came and said he's not going anywhere. Now, obviously, we know. Usually in politics, when they say something's not happening, it's going to happen. But I'm like, why would you come across so confident that he's not going anywhere? It's insane. So I'm still going to go with Monday, Tuesday, he's gone by that time. But they seem quite confident that they want to keep him, which is really weird. Bella Marie says, I'm in California. Oh, I'm sorry about that. I watch you and you'll love your content. We are losing hope here, from Gavin. Thank you very much. Yeah, you need to leave California now. It's time. But also, because we were talking about Biden, let's give you quick updates. We just heard a couple of hours ago. Again, these are rumors, but when rumors start from the political establishment, political bubble, usually it's happening. Suella Braverman, the former Tory Home Secretary, is reportedly going to be defecting to Reform UK very soon, which again is not going to be a surprise to many people, but it's still going to be a big thing. Like, whoa. So I think she's realized she's probably going to give up the hope to become Tory leader. We have a new guest in the live chat who is not too happy and having a meltdown by typing capital letters saying, "This guy is a joke." Why do you hate jokes? Jokes are the best. I am the best joke. Right. Did someone just say Trump stepped down? Where did you get the Trump stepped down? He has not stepped down. Who was this? Hang on. Tiffany saying Biden stepped down. Are you getting the news before us? I have access to the live feed, and I swear if he's resigning now, or maybe Tiffany is spreading fake news. Unless Tiffany is currently in the White House and knows exactly what's happening. We'll find out. She might be right. You never know. It just could be like a few seconds behind. But I should have known by now. Tiffany, who's your source? Stop telling us things randomly. Anyway. Super chat from a UK man. They're saying Maya, truth teller, and true Brit. And a joke. I love that comment. What else do we have? Phil says, is Maya Iranian? Well, ethnicity, well, nationality, I'm British. Loyalty, England. Ethnicity, I'm Persian. So my parents were Iranian. Well, their nationality was Iranian, obviously. My nationality is not Iranian. Ethnicity, I'm Persian. So obviously you've got different ethnicities in Iran. You've got Persian Iranians, Kurdish Iranians, and all the others. So yeah, I was born Persian, but I would die a Brit. Okay, where is Tiffany? Come on, where is your source, Tiffany? I'm just bullying Tiffany now for no reason. John says, Maya, maybe she meant Biden fell down. Yeah, Tiffany misspoke. Biden just collapsed for no reason. Oh dear. I think that guy's gone. Where's that commenter? We don't have enough trolls these days. Where are the left-wing trolls? This says, Maya, you're not a joke. You're the punchline. True that. True that. As kids would say. Actually, kids don't say that anymore. That was back in the 2000s. True that. Anyway, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me in another live stream. I'm Maya 2C, and we are the media.